All right. Hey, everybody. I am Hudson Phillips. I am a writer and producer from Atlanta. I wrote and produced the movie This World Alone. And as a result of releasing that film, we have also produced a book, and it is called After the Fall, and it is an anthology book of post-apocalyptic stories that we are putting out into the world this week. So I am doing a phone call here with Zoom call video interview with Robert Carnes. Robert, hi. Robert
Hey,
is
Hudson.
Robert is one of our contributors to this book. So we had over 30 contributors contributed poetry, artwork, comics, short stories to After the Fall. So we've got over 30 contributors. Really proud of the book. Oh, actually, here's a pre-copy of it that still has the thing here. Robert, you have not held it in your hands yet because we
I
still have
haven't.
a copy, but it's taking its time. So it looks like this. It's awesome. 288 pages of storytelling. And so, Robert, you're unique in that you are the only one to have two stories in here. So, and both are fantastic. So the way that we reached out to people is everybody kind of turned in submissions. We got over 50 submissions. We read all of them. We battled over what made the cut, and really what made the cut for me was how weird are they, right? So like I didn't want to choose the same types of stories, and so you had two really unique takes with your stories. Can you tell us a little bit about what your stories are called and what they're about?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, you let me know about this anthology a while back that you had this idea, and I was super excited back then, and I'm even more excited now that, the final thing is here and into the world. So that's awesome. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of it. Honored that I got two stories in there. Surprised, but hey, nonetheless honored.
Yeah.
So the two that I wrote were both two that I had kind of. I've got plenty of short stories that I've written like over the years, just kind of in different stages, and so I have a couple that like. I don't know. I had an idea and I started on and just kind of pushed pause. And that was the case for these two that I submitted. They had kind of been started and just hadn't gotten to a kind of finished place. So I was able to kind of push them to the finish. But they both had, like you said, different kind of takes on a post-apocalyptic world. The first one is called Dead Man's Party, which is what I'll do a short reading on today.
Nice.
And it's kind of probably a little bit more semi-autobiographical than I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it just, I don't know, it came out of about a guy, the narrator, who kind of is going to a normal suburban party at a house with friends, and all he can think about the whole time, the kind of inner narrative that's running in his mind the whole time, is about zombies and just how this place would be great to make a final stand in the zombie apocalypse, and how long his friends and family would survive said apocalypse. So I don't know. It's just a silly idea that I had while probably at a similar dinner party, and it was just like, hey, it'd be kind of funny to extrapolate this out into something that's just kind of ridiculous.
Right. I kind
But
of want to
hey,
ask you about that because thematically I really connected with that story, and it was because I found myself in that position before. Like it felt
sure.
very much like a
Good. I'm glad I'm not
response
alone.
to yeah, it felt like a response to social anxiety of like, you go into a new location and oftentimes we find ourselves disappearing into our brains as a way of coping with that. Is that something that you feel like you struggle with and that's where that story came out of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could have put my thumb on the social anxiety aspect of it, but it's probably, again, pretty true. Like, like you, I'm very introverted. I'm very kind of cerebral and like to kind of retreat into my brain. I'm not super sociable. I can kind of turn it on in a dinner party setting, which is kind of like the duality that I had the kind of character going through.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely, like in a new setting where I don't know many people, I will definitely kind of just stand off to the side by myself and just think about random things. Sometimes it's zombies.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us about your second story, Ultima Hominis.
Yes, yeah. So obviously a very different take. It's about the last living person who's just this little girl and all her robot friends, because they are the only things that survive this unknown apocalypse that I hint at during the story, but I don't even know what caused the end of the world, and neither do the robots. All they know is there's this little girl, and they just want to help her survive in this post-apocalyptic world. I don't know. I just kind of, it's a very a lot more high level, a lot kind of less personal, which, you know, kind of that's the kind of the juxtaposition of the other stories. It's very personal. It's very zoomed into this guy's mind. And then Ultima Hominis is kind of just this very wide overview of, I almost try to make it comical in that way, that it's this like very drastic thing that's happened. And it's just kind of this ho-hum tone of, yeah, the world's over and these robots exist and there's this little girl, and that's just kind of how things are. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how I came up with this story, but I liked it as a different kind of take on, again, the post-apocalyptic world, where it's a lot of like, I don't know, dystopian kind of regimes or all these kind of different takes. And I was just kind of like, well, what if it was just one person and just a bunch of automatons that are just kind of in this paradise, because there's no more people, so there's no more problems, and she's just able to kind of live out life, I don't know, by herself.
Yeah, it's a really cool story, and it feels like a good exploration of tone. Like that's part of what makes the story work, is you've got this omniscient narrator who does have that kind of mundane look at this fantastic thing that makes it so charming.
Oh, well, yeah, thanks. Again, it's kind of funny to go. That was the thing about going back and looking at these stories that I almost had created them so long ago. I can't even remember what the original impetus was for, especially for this one. It's like, I don't know where I came up with this, but it's kind of I don't know. I reread it and was enjoyed it enough to try to kind of revive it, and thankfully able to get in good enough shape it's publishable.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, kind of your writing journey up until this point, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, so like you, I am from Atlanta, live here. We actually work together at Orange full time. I work in marketing and run all of our blogs, and so obviously get a lot of writing experience that way. But I've always just enjoyed writing, both kind of nonfiction, but also doing a lot of creative fiction writing like this. I went to University of Georgia. I studied journalism, so obviously have always wanted to kind of be a professional writer. Writing is a big part of kind of who I am and my experience. I've worked in kind of the church ministry space for a number of years, but have always kept kind of this freelance writing stuff on the side, because that's very much my kind of creative outlet and what I enjoy doing. I took several creative writing classes in college, got a minor in English, so words and language are very much, I don't know, a passion of mine, and I love to read. I love talking to you and swapping like book recommendations, because I'm always kind of reading and coming up with new ideas for what I could write based on the stuff that I read. So, but yeah, live here in Atlanta. I've got a wife and a 15-month-old daughter, and that's who I am.
Cool. Well, we're going to get to your a reading from one of your stories here in a second, but I wanted to kind of ask your favorite kind of maybe writing tip or habit, or for people who are like, hey, I really want to write short stories. I want to put stuff out there. I want to write a novel. What kind of advice do you give to up and coming writers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just to read a lot. I mean, that was just a natural kind of passion of mine, and I think it's helped my writing career just because I know, what's been written in kind of a lot of different styles, and I try to expose myself to as many different genres and types of writing, and different platforms, stuff online, ebooks, novels, nonfiction books, like all this sort of thing. I just try to read as much as I can to broaden kind of the base that I have to build my writing on top of. And then kind of like a 1B part of that tip is also, I just like take notes when I read. I love kind of jotting down ideas, either if it's like a funny thought that I have while reading a book, if it's a great quote that I'm like, oh man, I wish I could come up with something very similar to that. I jot down a lot of notes, and we'll go back and kind of review them and pull different things from them as I'm writing something, because again, I think that helps, I don't know, spark my brain in a lot of different ways. And I'm building on something somebody else has done rather than trying to start from scratch.
Yeah. I think it's amazing advice, and I would be so flattered if I was a novelist and someone was taking notes while reading my story, right? I mean, that would be really cool, or at least inspiring people to write their own things.
For sure.
So, all right, let's read some from Dead Men's Party.
Yes. All right.
And I feel bad that you can't actually read from the book, and how cool that would be, and you show the pages or whatever. But
yeah. Well, I can't wait to get my copy soon. So
yeah, it's on its
way.
way.
Right. Yeah, I've got it. I've got the digital version pulled up on my screen. So,
Cool.
all right, Dead Man's Party. The front door is deep red, solid oak, and could no doubt withstand a zombie horde. I can tell all this just from knocking. Why didn't you ring the doorbell? Asked my wife, not amused. Within 15 seconds, a blonde woman in an oversized floral dress opens the door. Welcome to our home, says Mrs. MacArthur. Come on in. If she opens the door for everyone who knocks, she won't survive the impending apocalypse. The MacArthurs invited us over for a dinner party to show off the finally finished renovation on their McMansion. The construction had lingered on for more than 6 months because of disputes with the contractor. But the MacArthurs were likely thrilled to be able to revel in their even more expensive dwelling. I'm impressed by how much more impenetrable this place will be when the end times come. The house is full brick exterior and situated on top of a decent-sized hill. The incline made walking up the driveway in formal wear a bitch, but it would also serve to slow a stumbling army of the undead. That's assuming that they're able to get past the front gate and perimeter fence. The MacArthurs likely only installed the barrier to deter prying neighbors, but it would have the same effect on reanimated corpses. Good fences make good neighbors, and good neighbors make for bad zombies. As we enter the house, Mrs. MacArthur immediately whisks my wife away into another room. They're in the same Pilates class, the same preschool, so they'll have plenty to chat over a glass of wine. That leaves me to roam around the house with my thoughts. The inside of the house reveals much of the same sturdy architecture as the exterior. I have confidence that we would be relatively safe should an apocalypse happen during the party. In fact, the 30 or so partygoers may not even notice for the first hour or so that anything has happened. So that would give me the time needed to establish myself as the de facto leader. I wander into the kitchen where a smattering of ladies stand idly gossiping. They greet me with false cheer and I return the favor. Trays of appetizers and finger foods are spread across the marble counter. I carefully assemble a plateful, focusing on the starches and proteins. Mini sandwiches, bagel bites, pigs in a blanket. I'm not sure when we'll be able to eat again, and I want to make sure I have enough energy for whatever's coming. With snacks in tow, I continue deeper into the kitchen. Further from the noisy conversations and revelry, I discover the pantry door. I immediately open to investigate. I'm in the middle of taking inventory of our rations when I'm interrupted by a confused Mrs. MacArthur. What are you doing in here? She asks, laughing for reasons that are unclear. I'm unable to finish my mental food catalog, but I'm confident to estimate that the pantry's contents would last us approximately 2 weeks in the event of a siege. That's assuming we carefully ration the supplies and aren't shy about eating the 2 40-pound bags of dog food. It's obvious from the contents of their larder that the MacArthurs shop at Costco, like all sane human beings. Costco is not only a delightful retail store, it's also my ideal fallout shelter, should the worst come to pass. The layout of each Costco location, combined with the density of product to square footage, makes it the optimal setting for a final stand. And as such, I have routines to the nearest Costco memorized from both my home and work, plus a bug-out bag safely hidden at each store. Jettisoned from the pantry, I try to mingle with the other dinner guests. It doesn't work. Maybe it's because I'm mentally calculating their doomsday survival odds as we talk. It's the only sensible thing to do. So that is a passage from my story, Dead Man's Party.
Awesome. So brilliant. I feel like that I relate so much to this main character, and just the way that you write it is so clever and really, I don't know, it makes me giggle. I just love the kind of the style and the brain of this character that you're getting into, which is so great.
I appreciate that. You have to have a story about zombies with brains in it somewhere. So,
so yeah, this is the story that actually kicks off our anthology, and you've read about a quarter of your story there, so it does keep going.
Yeah.
A great way to kick off the anthology. So tell people where they can find out about you and find the other stuff that you've written, and how can people follow along with your writing journey?
Yeah, for sure. So my website, my personal website where I put all my writing and stuff like that, including my other books, is Jam Rob Carr, So it's the first 3 letters of James Robert Carnes, because that's my full name and because that's available on all social media platforms. And that's also all my handles on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So you can follow at JamRobCar to find me on, again, whatever your social platform of whichever one you want. So I've also written 2 other books, a devotional about storytelling called The Original Storyteller. And I've also written my own kind of collection of short stories called Cereal Box. And both of those you can find on my website.
Awesome. And if you guys want to check out this book, our anthology, where you can read 2 of Robert's stories along with 28 others, including one of my own, it is available at mirrorboxfilms.com or on Amazon, on Kindle and paperback. And if you, for the month of June, if you order it between now and June 30th, you can go to our website and send us an email with proof of purchase, and we will send you some cool buttons like these, which are the cover of the, it's kind of hard to see, cover of the book, a cool little button. And we've got these other ones too that are mirror box buttons, and a little post-apocalyptic cool deal here, which might be backwards on this Zoom call. Let's see if you can read that or not. But yeah, we're giving away these free buttons through the end of June, and I hope that you guys will pick up the book and check it out, because we're really, really proud of these stories. 30 voices from all over the world, 4 continents, all different walks of life. It's really cool to come together and tell these stories of post-apocalyptic worlds, but in my mind, there's a lot of hope in these stories, and there's science fiction in general provides a platform for looking at our present by looking at the future. And hopefully these stories will inspire you to create a lot of your own stuff. You can follow us at Mirrorbox Films on social media, and This World Alone Film on social media as well. So Robert, thank you so much for doing the reading with us today in this interview. This was really cool, and we hope to talk to you more soon.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Hudson.
Thanks, man. See you.